Hey guys, my name's Dane and I'm the owner of Splash Guest House based here at Hebara Beach, Katsuura-shi, Japan. This video today is part of a series on owning boats in Japan, and specifically I'm going to talk to you today about that little engine right there, one of my favorites, and it's called the Honda BF2. So if that interests you, kick back and enjoy, but please remember to subscribe and click the like button, even leave a comment. That really helps me in what I do. All right guys, let's get into it. Okay folks, so before I actually get into the engine, I just want to sort of clear a few things up. I always get asked this question first and foremost about owning boats in Japan. There's two you can break it down into two categories. There's going to be what we call unlicensed and unregistered boats, and then there's going to be licensed and registered. The rules in Japan, without going into detail, there's a separate video on that I'm putting together, is that basically if your boat is under 3.3 meters and your engine is 2 horsepower or below, then you don't need a license and the boat doesn't need to be registered. You know, you can basically hit the water. So example, this little boat behind us is a True Kit from New Zealand, 2.8 meters. That coupled with this engine basically means you can take it anywhere, you can put it on the water and poodle around and have some fun without a boat license or without registration or inspection and things like that. So that's what we call, is in Japan it's called the Nibari market. Nibari means 2 horsepower. And that's why this engine really exists, to be honest. Now of course you will know that there are many, or maybe you don't, there's many different manufacturers, marine engines. The big ones are sort of Honda, Yamaha, Mercury, Suzuki. Those are the big ones in Japan that often you'll hear or you'll know about if you go digging. The reason why we have a Honda is there's one main reason. Basically this one is air-cooled versus water-cooled, and again I'll get into that later. So let's just quickly talk about the actual engine itself for you. I've got it on a stand that we just made out of DIY wood, and this allows me to wheel it around back and forth, really simple, and store it in the shed nice and easily. It goes full rotation, as you can see. Now this model is the Honda BF2. Okay, if you type that into the internet, you'll find it. It's a 2020 model. They do tweak things like the cowling and little nuts and bolts here and there each year. But the way they sell it and say it to you, which I have to agree with, is basically it's very, very easy care. It means like super low maintenance. It's really easy operational. So things like petrol and starting and things like that, which again I'll go into detail. And it's super lightweight. It's one of the lightest weight on the market. I mean, even on the stand I can pick this up super easy. I think it weighs like 13 kilos, and as I said, the other big one is no license required in Japan. So that's a quick overview. Let's sort of dive a bit more deeper into the individual operations of the engine and how it really works. Okay. All right, folks, we've got the camera up really high, giving you that sort of the best perspective I can work out on of the engine, so you can see the whole thing. I want to explain to you the biggest difference between this Honda and all the other engines out there on the 2 horsepower. This Honda is air cooled, okay? All the other ones are water cooled. Now what that means, the easy way to understand that is you've probably seen those little 50cc scooters running around on the streets. They obviously don't use water to keep the engine cool, they use air, so they suck in air and the air keeps the engine nice and cool. On a lot of marine engines, what they do is they have a water intake and they suck water around the outside of the engine to keep the engine cool. Now, plus and minuses, but basically the big plus is that with the air cooled, that means you can run this engine outside of the water. You do not need to have this engine in the water So especially when you're cleaning the engine afterwards, or you just want to start the engine and warm it up before you stick it on your boat, that's a huge plus. With all other marine engines, like the Yamahas and Suzukis and Mercuries, you actually have to have the prop, the bottom part of the engine in the water, because it's going to suck in water from the bottom and spit it out up here through a water outtake, and that's going to keep the engine cool. And if you start that engine without it being in the water, it's going to overheat really quickly, which is a big no-no. So for us, that was the main reason we went for the Honda, because it's just so simple to maintain and keep clean and use, and we don't have to have all that problem with having to hook it up to water and stuff to clean it. Okay. All right, another big thing about the engine, the Honda, is it's 4-stroke, not 2-stroke. That means it takes the same gasoline as your car or your little moped, things like that, so you don't have to worry about mixing oils and whatnot, which is what we used to have to do with the old 2-strokes. They talk about a lot of easy care and easy maintenance with this Honda. So like I say, air-cooled, 4-stroke, they're the two big ones. Just undo this and the cowling so you can have a look inside. It's a very simple engine, just a single cylinder. It's very well put together, to be honest. The other huge things you're going to see is that it's got the petrol tank is actually on the motor itself. It's not a separate tank, so you don't need to carry extra tanks, whatnot. Super fuel efficient. You can literally on a tank go for hours on it, to be honest, but you should always remember what those distances are so you can get back safely. It's really easy to check things like oil and whatnot. It's on the side of the Honda here. There's a oil gauge. This is where you put in the oil, just in there. So it's as simple as owning a scooter. That's how I explain it to people. It's not a scary engine. Pretty much what you're going to do is you're going to put the oil in here, check that you have enough oil, otherwise your engine overheats and blows up. You know, pour gasoline into here, and do a few things like make sure the air intake is open, and then pretty much you've got a pull cord here, which is going to allow you to start the engine, which we'll do for you shortly. It also has a choke, and the choke is of course very important for when you're cold starting engines, because it just allows more air into the engine or more gasoline into the engine depending on the temperature. Okay, so it's basically super easy maintenance compared to a lot of the other engines, so that's why we like it. Okay, another big reason why we chose the Honda is it is super light. This thing comes in at around 13 kilos, maybe 14 and a half with fuel on board. So super easy to manage and move around. So if you've got a little car in Japan and you're packing this all down like ours, we've got a little 2.8 meter inflatable as one of them. So we wanted something lightweight we can just throw in the back of the K car. So, give you an example, it's got a beautiful carry handle just here. Right. Going to whip it off the stand, and there you go. That's me in one hand. Easy to change, easy to pick up and down, easy to even put right up to the camera there. There we go. So, super mobile and easy. The other big thing is with a lot of these engines, when you come to store them, there's only certain ways that you can store them. Now, the Honda has these little feet on this side, you'll see here, just there, on this side, 1 and 2, and that allows you to store the engine on its side, okay? Now, it doesn't always have to be upright on a stand, and again, that's really useful and good for when you're moving around in a car, or you don't have a stand and you don't have somewhere to stand it up the whole time. You want to lay it down in the shed or in a cupboard or something like that at your house. So that's again something that makes it really practical. One thing I'm going to mention, I'll come back to actually. I'm going to talk to you about the forward and reverse on this. But yeah, so that talks about the weights. Nice and easy. One of the features I really like. Okay, price. Very important for a lot of people. The Honda BF2, brand new in Japan, is about 110,000 yen. That's just about $1,200. Now, 2 horsepower engines are actually, in my opinion, overpriced. They do that because there's a big market for them, because you don't need a license. You'll find some of the other larger engines, 6 horsepower, 8 horsepower, aren't that much more expensive than these 2 horsepower, but obviously a lot more technical and a lot more high performance, a lot more power. But that's just what the companies do because they know they can sell them. But actually, for the lifespan of the engine, 110,000 yen is still a bargain. If you think about it, you know, a scooter, 50cc scooter, is going to set you back nowadays probably about 160, 180,000 yen. So to have a full working gasoline engine for that amount of money, I think it's a good deal. Especially if you maintain and look after the engine, you know, these things will go on for 10, 15, 20 years. So let's just say a lifespan of 10 years, and you break that down, it's costing you about 10,000 yen or $100 a year to have this engine. So in that, when you put it into that perspective, I don't actually think it's that much money. That's a little bit about the price. All right, folks, I'm going to do this bit for you on my knees because I'm so tall and I want to keep this as zoomed in as possible for you. Right, this is what we're calling operations. Now, this is basically how I start the Honda and how it runs, so you can see that. Now, before I get into that, I'm just going to talk to you quickly about a thing called engine trust. That's what I mean by you can trust in the engine. It's a bit like your car. You get in it every day, each and every day. It starts first time, off you go, no problems, gets you from A to B safely. That's even more important when you're out there on the ocean or on the rivers, because if you lose the ability to have power, it's a long way back, and that's why, again, you must have oars in your boat. So if it does happen, trust me, it will happen at one point or another, you have another way to sort of get yourself back to safety. So the beauty of the Honda and it being air-cooled is that means you can pre-start this engine before you attach it to boat and go into the water. So for me, that's in the car park or the beach or the house. I'm able to warm the engine up, make sure everything's working properly, then add it to the boat and then go out and do my boating. And that gives me that extra trust in the engine, okay? As I said before, I love this engine because it's so simple and easy to use. So I'm going to run you through how I start my Honda. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to spin it around here. You're going to see here we have a petrol tank on and off switch, and quite simply we take it from the off, which we always have it in when we're storing it, and that just stops it, the petrol moving around the engine, and we turn it to the on mark. We come around here next to the top. This is where we put the petrol in, and this has a little air valve on top. We need to make sure that that is open, because that allows air inside the petrol tank, stops it getting sucked together. Make sure that's open. On the side here, then we have a choke, and when we first start the engine, we want to make sure that that choke is out, and again, that just helps starting the engine when it's cold. Over this side here, this is a little lanyard, safety kill switch lanyard. We make sure there's a little red button on the side. When this isn't in, the engine will instantly turn off. This is safety, so you normally have this around your wrist, imagine. That's in here. If you fall out of the boat for any reason, ping, that comes with you, engine will stop. Otherwise, of course, if you fall out, engine's still going, bye-bye boat, not a good thing. So we make sure that that's in. And then on our accelerator here, there's a little tortoise for basically idling and stop, and there's a rabbit for full speed, and in the middle there's a little one which means start. So we turn around and we make sure that we're at least on start. There's a little tensioning knob here on the side. that allows us to tighten up and tension the throttle accelerator. So we just kind of lock that down so we don't actually have to hold the accelerator. So again, I just go through in my head, petrol's on, air intake on, kill switch is in, I have some accelerator, choke is out, and then we're going to just try and start this for you. Here we go. Take a nice grip with that of the pull cord, and you're going to give it not a short pull, give it a nice long pull. Maybe I'll move it here so you can see a little bit better. Let's see how we go. Oh, that. No, very, very first time guys. Wow. I'm just going to back off the accelerator a little bit. Now, what's really important with these Hondas, a bit noisy I know, is that they don't have any gears or clutch, they're just a single gear. So you must be very, very careful of the prop, because when you accelerate, that prop will spin. So make sure nobody's anywhere near that prop. Okay, so it's just been idling for a few seconds. And that what we can do is you can start to push that choke back in, and you can hear that acceleration. I'm not touching the accelerator. As I push that choke back in, those revs are increasing. And that's just because the amount of fuel and stuff going in is now perfectly regulated. So what we can do is we can back off that accelerator a little bit and bring those revs down just to idling speed. Okay, now I'm going to move the engine back so you can see here. You'll see here that the prop down there, just a little bit further back, maybe come over here for you. Oh. So guys, you can see here the prop's not moving. That's the propeller, okay, the prop not moving. But of course now if I accelerate on the accelerator, you're going to see that prop start to turn. Okay? Alright, here we go, you'll see as I start to accelerate, there goes the prop. Okay? Let me back that off. Accelerate again. There we go. Alrighty. Okay, just going to move this back. There we go. Now, very easy and simple how to turn this off. You can just pull out the kill switch, which is just there, remember. Here we go. There we go. And the engine stops, as simple as that. How easy, nothing to be scared of. So, again, that's why I love this engine so much and I trust it so much. Now it's nice and warmed up. Which means it should, you know, imagine it's been sat in your shed for like a month or a couple of months since you've last been boating. That means you've run the engine, you've tested everything. Now you can go and attach it to your boat, and when you get out there on the water, boom, it starts straight away. Okie dokie. Alrighty, that's it from how I start my engine and whatnot. Of course, when you finish, if you come off the water, you just want to make sure the accelerator's off, choke is in, close that petrol tank off for storage, make sure the air valve is closed, and you're pretty much good to go. That's it, it's ready to store. Too easy. Remember, always check the amount of oil you have in your engine, super important, and make sure you've got enough fuel for wherever you go. When you're boating, just general rule of thumb is the thirds rule: a third for going there, a third for coming back, and a third for reserve, just in case you get into trouble. Hope that helps. I'll do a wrap up video now. Just let me change the scene. Alright guys, let's wrap up this video, but before I do, I just want to say, yes, I get a lot of questions from a lot of people living here in Japan, Japanese and foreigners, saying, how can I get my family out on the water? How can I take my wife? How can I have some fun? I don't want to do sup or surf. How do I do that? Owning a boat in Japan. Pretty simply, this is the perfect package you see right in front of you. You've got the Honda BF2 which is the 2 horsepower engine, no license required in Japan. That's 110,000 yen, brand new, and an amazing little engine. Like, really is the best one. The Yamaha, Suzuki, all of that lot do them, but unless you're a bit more of an experienced boater, this really is the easiest, most simple engine you can buy out there. I know this video is about the Honda, but I just want to mention the 2.8 meter true kit catamaran, and this combination together is absolutely perfect. Again, because you do not need a license in Japan to own this boat and have it on the water with that engine. That means this boat will easily take a family of 4 out on the water, and or 2 people for a bit of fishing on basically calm, flat water, so it's just a great all-round package. So anyway, there we go. Hopefully this video was useful for you. If it was, please like and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions or you want to know some more information, please leave that in the comments below. Like I say, we're going to try and address a lot of people's questions on boating and licensing and inspection rules and regulations and how-tos in future videos. We've got a lot on the True Kit boats from New Zealand already, unboxings and whatnot. But apart from that, I'm going to leave it today because I want to get out there on the ocean and go for a bit of a fish myself. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. See you soon.